Hi, my name is Joanna Rabin, and I just wanted to tell my birth story really quick, and I hope it encourages you. I had a natural birth that I fought for in a hospital setting, and the reason I want to tell my story is not because I want to be like, I went natural and had no drugs. I found a lot of videos like that exist on the internet. I had a baby prior, I had every intervention under the sun, there's nothing wrong with that, but I had an experience. I had like a total transcendent, incredible experience with natural birth, and I just want to talk about it in case anyone's interested. I don't know if you're pregnant right now watching this and curious about it, but I hope that this story just brings a different level of depth to the reason to go natural. So I was 39 weeks and 1 day pregnant. I woke up by like 3 or 4 a.m. to go pee like you do, and there was a lot of blood in the toilet, and so I called and they were concerned it was maybe a placental abruption. So we went in. I actually don't know what the bleed was from. I don't think they officially determined it. It did slow eventually, but they were like, look, you're 39 weeks. We're not gonna let you leave after a bleed like that, so let's do what we need to do to have this baby here. So there you go. First off, if you've ever had a baby birth, like, you could make a plan, but that plan is probably a lot of it gonna go out the window, and you have to learn to just roll with the punches. So that was strike number one. I was like, cool, because I had planned to go into labor on my own, labor at home as long as possible, you know, like have candles, have the bath, you know, like be in my space. Yeah. No. Here we are at the hospital. We're gonna like attempt to induce. So we just rolled with it. I think the most natural choice I decided to do was just have them break my water. So they did that, I think, around 9 or 10 a.m. And we were doing lunges down the halls. And by the way, I don't have a birth video, but I do have a lot of pictures, or a decent amount of pictures, so I'll insert them as we go so you're not just bored looking at my face. So trying to get things going, I have to mention that I did prepare for this birth. I did a lot of mental preparation, and I spent some time with my doula. I had a doula for this birth. I did not for the first time. I have a video on here. I'll link it wherever the card goes. An interview with my doula, and that was the best choice I ever made. Get yourself a doula if you can. And I highly recommend this one. She's my friend, so obviously I recommend her, but best decision ever. So we're doing everything we can to get things going. I'm having some minor contractions, but it doesn't feel like labor. It's not getting anywhere. So here's the beef that I have. I had a major run-in and a major conflict with the hospital staff the entire day before this labor kicked in. Comment below if you've had a similar experience. They fought me every step of the way because they wanted to get things going a lot faster. And I was there with the mindset of like, I fully trust my body. Even though we're gonna induce with a little water break, my body knows what to do. It knows what to do, and I will wait for it. So give it a few hours. Here comes the nurse and the midwife. Yeah, we're running risk of infection. The longer your water is broken, the longer the infection. We don't see progress. Your body is failing to progress. So we like to recommend Pitocin. Just quickly, my last baby, my water broke, things didn't progress. I got Pitocin, stalled out. No, labor started, I stalled out, got Pitocin, labored hard on Pitocin for like 4 or 5 hours, blacking out. I was at a 5. Oh, dilated to a 5. So I got an epidural, everything happened, had the baby, it was fine. But I did not want Pitocin if at all possible, because those contractions are like Satan himself. Oh, hardcore contractions. So I'm like, no, I think I'm gonna wait for my body to kick in. And then 10 minutes later, another nurse, yeah, we need to run a bunch of checks. I'm like trying to relax and let my body do the thing. Every half hour, someone is in here telling me that I'm gonna cause harm to myself and my baby if I don't start some sort of intervention. And I'd also like to know, if you're like an L&D nurse, where do you weigh in on this? Like, I understand there's a risk for infection when your water's been broken after like 24 hours. It's also very rare. If you're in a birth center, you have a midwife, you're laboring at home, it's not even on the radar until much, much later. My main beef was the tone of condescension every time, the frequent checks, and just the barrage of like, oh, there's a few contractions on the monitor, but honey, if you were in labor, you would be in pain. oh, thank you for telling me that. Just extremely condescending. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on that, but we fought. We were getting so mad for like hours and hours and hours and hours. I took a nap. They were still like in there. I just wanted to let my body do its thing. But you need time and space to do your thing. And let me say this. Animals, when they give birth, they go somewhere quiet, like the middle of the forest, or somewhere alone and safe where they feel like they can give birth, because birth is the most vulnerable experience. By the way, this should be a drinking game for the amount of times I'm going to say birth. So grab your water, take a sip of water every time I say birth, because it's going to happen a lot. You need to feel safe and like you can open up and relax and just be like completely surrendered. And that does not happen when medical staff is like in your face every 5 seconds. So this is another time I'm really thankful for a doula and my husband, because I can no longer advocate for myself when I'm trying to get internal. And they did a really good job of eventually saying, back the heck down. We need at least an hour by ourselves to rest and set the tone. And then you can knock on the door and I can see if I'm going to allow you in. Like, that's what my husband did. And I'm so thankful, because that's how I was able to start labor. So this is like the afternoon by now. My doula is doing some hip massages. We're doing some spinning babies positions to optimize my pelvis opening, trying to get the baby's head to engage. I'm having contractions, but it's not active labor. So around 5 p.m., 4:35 p.m., things start kicking in. So let this just be an example. Like, if you want to wait it out, wait it out. Like, my water was broken at probably 10 a.m. That is no risk of infection. That's nothing sketchy. To wait till 5? No. I was so pumped. I can't even tell you. Things are hitting harder, stronger. And I'm like, yes, like, go me. Like, we're doing it. And I'm so connected to my baby. By the way, my baby's name is Scarlett. She's over a year old now. If you followed my pregnancy updates, you've probably been like, what happened to her? Because I just peaced out after I had this baby. But I was so proud of her. I was like, we're going to do this. We got this. We got this. So we set the mood. Highly recommend, do whatever floats your boat. We're in a hospital, like just a normal hospital, labor delivery room, turned down a lot of the lights. For me, one of the most important things that I did, and I would recommend, is I made a birth playlist that had like specifically hand-picked, curated worship songs for me that were perfect for this time. Like things to cling to, things that like just ministered to my soul, songs that brought the presence of God. And I'm crying because like that is what happened in that room. Like, we set the atmosphere and it was so intimate and things just progressed so beautifully. So let me say, I went into hard labor at 5, active labor, and I had her at 10, 11 p.m. So it was about 5 hours all in. Natural. I'm so proud. But okay, so set in the mood, things are getting real. Here's where the mental component comes in, and it is so fascinating. You guys, if you're pregnant right now, you are capable of so much. Like, your body and your mind are stronger than you even think is possible. To go into this like labor land of catch and release and surrender, and it's a trip. I mean, you are basically tripping to handle the amount of pain. So when a contraction comes and they start to get really, really painful, and I don't want to speak in a way that's producing fear, but birth is the most painful thing you'll ever feel and experience in your whole life. And I do follow an account on Instagram called Pain Free Birth. I would do this experience 100 times over because it was incredible. What I don't remember is the pain. However, it is terrifying if you let your mind go to panic mode. I mean, it's intense. I would say intensity, not pain. Like, the amount of intensity in your body. I mean, I've never felt that, and I don't know if I ever will, other than childbirth. So here's where the trip happens, right? You have to get your brain and your heart and your head to embrace intensity and pain. And that is so counterintuitive to anything you would ever do. Ever, 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 ever. Pain is like, we don't like that. Medicate it, take it away. It's a signal of something wrong. So you have to completely rewire your brain to say, no, this is something right. Like every contraction that hits, you're like, I want this. And that's so backwards, right? So I would find that right when I'd feel the contraction like starting to come, you have to just be like, here we go. Like you have to catch it. If it hits you and you're not ready for it, you're kind of screwed. You have to catch it. You have to breathe through it. You have to open your mind and your body to the pain. Like let it just wash over you. I mean, I was seeing fields of flowers. I was seeing swirling colors. I was like talking to Dan, my husband. I was like, oh wow, I am in this weird fantastical land. He's like, okay. I mean, it just, your brain has to work really hard to find a way to cope with the pain. Anyway, here's another time that I really suggest a doula, because my husband was able to be so hands-on in this birth because my doula directed him on what to do. We had also practiced some positions, me and my doula, not me and my husband, that would help facilitate things. So she was able to guide him and say, hey, put your hands here. Stand and let her hold your neck. We did a lot of interesting positions. I'll try to put some pictures up here that were really helpful. He was behind me holding my belly. He would sit and I would basically put my legs over his lap and let my pelvis sink down when a contraction would hit. That was actually very helpful. But what was really different about this birth was, first of all, I have the best husband in the world. But I was able to hold on to him and use him as a support, unlike I was the first time. Like he was there the first time, but I was gritting my teeth against the pain. I was like embarrassed to let him see me in so much pain. It just felt all yucky and gross. This time, I just was able to like lean on him, and this is gonna get a little woo-woo, but I think this is a good example if you have a healthy relationship of healthy female and healthy male energy. And think about it. As a woman, you're like, woo, and in birth, you gotta flow with it, right? We're a little more emotional, all this stuff is happening. Here's the female energy is a lot more fluid and flowing and maybe more energetic. And my husband is very like calm. He's the rock in the relationship. And that's exactly what he was in this birth. And it was like the perfect yin and yang of energies. You know, sorry if that's weird, but he's not the kind of guy who's going to read 10 books on how to prep for birth. I don't know if you relate, if your husband's like that too. But all I needed him to be was that masculine energy, that steadfast rock. And I was able to just do whatever and lean on him. And it was just beautiful. So I think the idea of those energies complementing each other in labor, if you can visualize that or lean on that in whatever way works for you, that was really helpful for me. By the way, I use my hands a lot. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm seeing like this side screen and I'm just like, hands, a lot of hands. My doula is super supportive. She's like, hey, do you want to start moving? Do you want to kneel? Do you want to try this position? And we have a very good relationship. She was very like offering options, but not getting in the way of like me and Dan's connection. And I'm catching contractions. I'm breathing through them. I'm so proud that my body's doing what they want to do. And then shit gets real. Sorry. Things start to really kick in. My hip flexors lock up. They did that the first time too. It's like back labor, but in your hip flexors. I'm really struggling. Dan's pushing my hips. Like I'm struggling catching the contractions. And I'm like, I think I want to get in the bathtub. I wanted to use that as sort of like my last option to really help the pain, and I thought that was going to work. So, ladies, if you are kind of preparing for birth, right when you think you cannot do it, you're probably in transition. I read that once, and even though I knew that in my mind, it still didn't click, but that's exactly what happened to me in this process. I got in the bathtub, and I think I labored there for about an hour, but things were hard, really hard. I am struggling to hang on, and I'm just moaning and yelling and breathing and just like fixated. You're in this world. Everything gets dark. You know when you're underwater, like you're in a swimming pool or bathtub and your ears go under and everyone's really far away? That's how labor land is. You are somewhere else. And the pain gets really overwhelming and you're holding on to whatever you can, whether it's like the freckle on your husband's hand or, you know, someone's voice in the background telling you like, take a deep breath and release. And for me, it was my playlist. There were so many beautiful songs on there. And there's so many moments in labor where you're like, I can't do this. I can't do this. It's so intense. And my body is like revolting. That's what it feels like. And you're trying so hard to accept and surrender and you just can't. And that's where, for me, my faith was just really pivotal for me. And in those moments to hear a song and just be like, God, I cannot do this. I cannot do this on my own. Like, I need you. And then just like getting through another contraction and you're like, I can do this. Like, I never felt alone. And I'll never forget that. Like, I've had a lot of spiritual experiences in my life. I believe in the Holy Spirit and that God still moves, but the way God showed up for me in my birth was supernatural. It was insane. Like, it almost makes me want to get knocked up and do it again just to experience like the closeness of God like that. So that was a big deal for me. Good thing I have a swaddle here to dry my tears. Anyway, back to the story, the timeline. So I'm spiking a fever. They're like, we need to get you out and check you. And I'm starting to lose my groove. And I'm like, I don't think I can do this. If this goes on any longer, I can't do this. And so this is where I was in the bath, my last labor, and they checked me and I was a 5. And I was laboring, excuse me, so hard and for so long. I was so discouraged. And that's when I got the epidural. So I was like, if I'm not like an 8, I think I'm going to get an epidural. Like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Like, the defeat was there. So this is just my tip for you. When you're in labor and you feel like that, remember what I'm saying right now. Remember my voice, because that's when I was in transition. And when you're in transition, like, your baby's almost there. Almost there. And I read that you get this defeat. And I was there. So it took me like 5 contractions to try to get out of the tub and make it to the bed. We get to the bed. I'm a 7. I'm a 7. Like, I think I'm on my side. I'll put some pictures of that. And my doula, this is where she really came alive. She got my face and she's like, Joanna, you can do this. This is not the time to give up. You are almost there. You are about to have a baby. Do you hear me? You're about to have a baby. You can do this. You can do this. I'm like, just barely, like, even in reality, like, just barely hanging on. Contractions are really hard. And she's like, what if we prop, this is a game changer. What if we prop the bed up, you know, the bed can sit up like this, and you can get on your knees. It's a position that we had talked about. We did that, and that was a game changer. Ladies, try it. If you're in a position you're just not comfortable, try it. There were handles on the back of behind the bed. I held on and I was able to just like grip my teeth and get through it. And all of a sudden things started moving fast. She checked me again. I'm an 8, 8.5. And I'm like, I kind of feel some pressure. And you know, things are still foggy, but my doula's in my face. Christina's like, Joanna, did you hear that? The nurse just called a doctor. Do you know what that means? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what that means. She's like, you're going to have a baby and it's going to happen really fast. She just called the doctor. You're going to have this baby. I'm like, okay, okay. And they're wheeling, like, people are coming in, they're wheeling in the table. She goes, what is that? Do you see that table? I'm like, what table? She's like, that's a table that your baby's going to lay on. You can do this. Like, she's in my face because I'm just like, woe is me right now. I'm like crying. I'm like moaning. She's like, you can do this. Like, come on, take a breath. You can do it. And then all of a sudden, my body starts to push. Now, let me say, sorry, I'm really getting into this now because this was really cool for me. I was so epiduraled out for my first birth. I felt nothing. No pressure, nothing. I had that baby. It was great. Epidurals are awesome because you're just like joking around and they're like, you should push. And you're like, okay. Cool. And then you have a baby and it's like, you're not, I mean, there's none of this pain stuff. But I've never felt what it's like to push. And let me just say, I did not push first. My body was like it started pushing. And I was like, I think I'm pushing. I think this is happening. Like my body, okay, this is what I can liken it to. And I don't want this to be disgusting, but it's like when you throw up, and no nausea or anything, but you know when you actually go to throw up, you're not like, I think I shall throw up now. Ugh. Like your body is just, you're throwing up. You know, like it happens. Same thing with the urge to push. It was just like, oh, we're doing this now. This is happening. I just tapped into this primal woman power. And there was a lot of noise. I was like, rah, like just power to like, get this baby out of me. And the cool thing I have to say about being so surrendered and open to the birth process is I didn't care what Dan thought of me. My first birth, I was just very like weirded out about the whole thing. I was like, ew. I didn't even want to say the word cervix or anything like that. It was just like, oh, this is weird. And I felt weird that Dan would see me like that. And I just was very disconnected to the whole thing. And I was like, I'm just going to trust that you're going to love me no matter what. And I'm going to just like do what I need to do to have this baby. And it was so freeing. So the pushing was actually exciting. And once you get to pushing, like, it's all good. It's all good. Like, it hurts, but you're going somewhere. You're not just like in this blind, like, swirling abyss of darkness. Like, you have a goal and you're like, here we go. And one thing that I didn't feel with my first birth was a skull in my pelvis. Like, holy crap. Scarlett's head was trying to come out. And I was like, you're going to break my pelvis. That's what it felt like. Every push, I was like, this is bone on bone. Like, am I going to survive this? Like, is my pelvis gonna break? That's what it felt like. But you're just, the contractions, the intensity, it is so much that you're like, well, what if it breaks? It breaks. You have to surrender to it. So we're pushing. Dan's on board. He's right with me. Christina's like, you can do this. And all of a sudden there's all this commotion. Like, things are happening fast. Doctors, da-da-da-da-da. This was so cool. So it's nighttime, you know, it's 10 p.m. There's a doctor that I don't know. She's just the on-call delivery doctor. And I'm still on my hands and my knees facing the bed. I can't see anyone. Dan is right here. Christina's right here. So the doctor's like, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I'm going to deliver your baby. We need to talk about how, like, would you like to lay down now? And I was like, no, I think I want to just deliver like this. And she was so cool. This nurse, her and the, like, attending staff were the coolest freaking people ever. Like, the first people in the hospital experience, dead to me. They were really not cool. But these people, again, they were incredible. So anyway, the doctor's like, okay, you can stay on your hands and your knees, but we need to figure out a way for you to pick up the baby. Like, when the baby comes out, we don't want you to sit on your baby. So we kind of make a game plan. She's on board. It's awesome. Really sorry for the show that I probably gave everyone. Honestly, my friend who was my doula was like, so I've probably seen parts of you that you've never even seen on you. I was like, awesome. Yeah, so everyone's getting a full show. One more push and it's so weird. When their whole body comes out, it's like you just gave birth to an octopus. It feels like she had like 20 arms and legs. It was just like, and you're just so aware, having the natural experience and no drugs or anything, anesthesia, you're so aware of what's happening. In like a split second, I caught her, flipped over, sat down, and put her on my chest. Like, cord is exactly where it needs to go. There she is. And okay, this is where it all was worth it. It all was worth it. I felt so much holding her and seeing her for the first time. Like, I understand why people get all goo goo gaga over babies. I just did not understand that the first time. I just didn't have that with my first baby, and I feel so bad that I didn't, but I was like, there she is. Like, I felt so in touch with her. We did that together. And just the love and the relief and the pride. I was like so proud that I just did that and that we did that together, and just that whole experience, it was just like heaven collided with earth, and the amount of joy and like the high in that moment, like the trip and the high were worth it. And I've not done hard drugs ever, but like, whoa. I flip over and there's a whole room full of people, and the reaction was so amazing. All the people there were like, wow, that was so cool. And they all personally thanked me for letting them be a part of this birth.
You did unbelievable. I'm so proud of you.
Good. You did an unbelievable job. None of us get to see births like that very often.
Really? And I was so blown away by that. I was like, well, you have to be here. Like, this is your job. But the doctor was this most beautiful, refined woman. Like, her hair was up, blonde lady. Like, again, wish I could find her and thank her personally. Never met her before. She's like, thank you for allowing me to be a part of a birth like that. And I was like, a birth like what? Like, everyone was just really like, ooh, wow. And they were like, well, we don't see a lot of natural births at a hospital, which I thought was interesting. But they were like, it was more that, like, the kind of birth that you facilitated here. Like, it was really cool to see a woman, like, listening to her body. Way to just go with what you wanted, and you made your own decisions, and, like, to give birth like that, we never see that. It just felt like this awesome little bubble of, like, a miracle experience. Just a quick note on how things turned out postpartum. I mean, things are hard. Postpartum is just hard. It is. Don't let anyone tell you it's not. It's just going to be a big adjustment. And 1 to 2 was its own adjustment, as it was going from 0 to 1 babies. But I never had like the crying all day, like the feelings of loss and aloneness and disconnect. I am so connected to this baby. It's such a blessing. We're just like so close. So I'm just talking about this because we have a lot of issues regarding birth and pregnancy. There's a lot of traumas emotionally and physically, and I hope something in here resonates with you, good or bad, and it prompts you to explore a little deeper, maybe something that you pushed away or that you have to deal with yourself or with your baby or your husband, and you have to forgive that whole experience. I think that's a big deal. And but if you're considering going natural, I don't know, do what you want. But for me, the experience, I went somewhere I've never been before. I experienced God in a way that I've never experienced him before. I felt my own power as a woman. And the intimacy, just me and my baby, like working this out. Like I'll never experience that again. Like with her. I don't know if we'll have another kid or not, really. I just don't know about that. But it's just one of the best things I've ever experienced. So I just wanted to tell this story. I know it's a little gabby, to put the end on my whole pregnancy series. I know there was a year gap in between, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And please message me on social media if there's any way that we can connect and I can answer any questions. I did go through a lot of struggles postpartum, and I'll link one of those that video here. I connected with a lot of people on the internet about that because people don't talk about that either. And that's a really terrible, lonely, hard place to be as well. So if any of that connects with you, please reach out to me. I'd love to help and come alongside you in any way that I can. And if you made it to the end, holy cow, comment birth in all caps if you made it to the end, because amazing. Thank you. I appreciate your time, and if you're pregnant, I wish you the best. Congratulations. If you're in a totally different phase of life, have a good day. Thanks for watching. Bye.